Tell me when I should go.
Madam Chair, you are live.
Okay. The meeting of the, Affordable Housing and Economic and Community Development Commission is called to order. I'm gonna call the roll. Terry Bond.
Present.
Did we lose Nancy?
Oh, there. Okay. I'm back.
Yay.
At least I can hear you guys. Elijah's not there. Patrick's not there.
I was thinking something different.
Karen,
Present.
Karen written present. Okay. Rich.
Present.
Okay. Let's hope this works now. I think a quorum is present.
Yeah, and I did look it up because we have the nice folder that
Oh,
Karen
right.
gave us. And in that, it says 4. We need 4 to do
Okay.
business, so
We have 4.
yes.
So the next order of business is our approval of the January meeting minutes, since we skipped the February meeting. And anyone move to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
A second.
You guys are gonna have to keep your speakers on
Oh, but
because she can't see you.
yeah, okay. Actually, I will have to second it because neither Rich nor Karen was a member at that point, so wouldn't have been there. Wouldn't really know what was in the minutes. Isn't
They
that-
were there in January because I looked and we did their introduction.
No, we did them in February, but
We
they
didn't
weren't.
meet in February.
They weren't. We did meet, but they weren't formal.
No, I did. I went back and looked at the January. I went back and looked at the January
you're right.
agenda.
You're right. You're right.
Did we lose Nancy again?
This thing is. I'm back again.
Yay.
I'm sorry. It's going to be really rough.
Would it be
Um,
helpful if Jillian put up the agenda?
No, I've got the agenda right here. It's just that my Zoom connection keeps fading in and out, and I don't know why.
Okay.
Nancy, I wonder if it might benefit you just to call in.
Maybe that's a good idea. I'll just call on my phone.
Yeah.
All right, I'll keep going and I will see what I can do about doing that. Done.
Who's the
okay, one
co-chair?
sec. Elijah's the co-chair. and
Elijah's the
he's not-
co-chair.
Oh, Elijah's
Yeah.
the co-chair.
Yeah.
Can we if we bring up the agenda, I can pinch hit if you want me to.
Okay, why don't we do that while I call in?
Okay.
Like,
All right.
find
Yeah.
something to call.
All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm bringing it up right now.
Okay, thanks. You do it from memory if I had a good memory. All right, we did the roll call. So we're doing well, we'll wait till Nancy gets back on to do the approval of January meeting minutes. Is that okay with everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So who's doing the update? The next item is the update of, pardon me? Of 040-22, the workforce housing legislation? Is that a Nancy item, or Teresa, are you doing that?
Nancy.
Nancy. Okay.
She's back,
Oh, good. Okay.
I think.
Nancy, you there? Do we want to move ahead to the update on CDBG, because that
Yeah,
would
we
be
can do.
Teresa. Let's do that.
Okay, so we'll need to show that spreadsheet. So Julian's going to put up the spreadsheet that I sent you. So unfortunately, this year we didn't really get much more than we got last year for our CDBG entitlement. We only got $306,703. It's only a couple $100 more. And we haven't gotten any program income, and we don't have anything available to commit from previous years because we committed all our funds. So basically we end up with just the $306,703. Statutorily, we can only set aside 15% for public services, since community development block grant is really a bricks and mortar program. So that's only $46,000. And then we're only allowed to set aside 20% for administration and fair housing. So that leaves us about $199,000 for capital projects. Excuse me. So our public services applications, we received basically the same ones that we did last year, with the exception of Ola. I don't know why Ola didn't submit. I emailed them, I called them, and I didn't hear. So so they didn't submit. The co-op in Arundel withdrew their application. They had requested $60,000.
Wow.
They thought they were going to be able to operate their whole program with that $60,000, but we don't even have $60,000, and we wouldn't appropriated all the money to just one program, so they withdrew. So for public services, you can see it's our usual group. I tried to give them as close to the same amount of money that they got the year before last, because last year we had double the amount of money. So you can see what each organization's getting. On capital projects, we had less. Homes for America didn't submit, so there were two less on that one. The Brewer Hill Cemetery project really was ineligible because it doesn't provide the way our plan is set up. We have to provide 100% of our funding has to go to providing services to actual beneficiaries. So it really wasn't eligible, plus it came in late anyway. So we have ARC and Arundel Lodge and Rebuilding Together and the Housing Authority. And then we have our administration fair housing. And that gives us a total of $306,703. The next step will be all this. I'm preparing an action plan. We have to put in an action plan. And the action plan will be available at the end of the month. We'll have a public hearing on the action plan at our next meeting in April. And then it'll be submitted to HUD. This budget was already submitted to the city. The reason that there's some that are highlighted yellow was because I changed it based on the extra $200 that I got from the last time I submitted the budget. So this is what will go to the city council. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
No?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Kind
it
of
is.
it's kind of disappointing because last year we were able to give out so much money,
Yeah, that's a big difference.
but this is what our usual
Well-
amount is. Last year was an anomaly.
Yeah, that last year was COVID stuff, right?
No, last year was the extra, I had gotten a
Oh,
payback
the
from Bay
extra-
Ridge
the
Gardens
interest.
loan
The interest
of
income, right, right.
$170,000, and then I had
Right.
gotten something like $250,000 worth of program income that was unexpected.
Program
so
income,
that's why.
right.
So, okey dokey.
So we take your next item and have you do that, and then we'll go back to 40-22.
It's up to you. You can go back, to 4022 if you want, or we can, whatever the chair
Why don't you
wants.
do your settlement costs
Okay,
first, and then we'll go back and we'll do 40-22.
okay, Jillian,
Afterward.
can you put that one up? So, this is a new program for our moderately priced dwelling unit program. Does anybody have any questions about moderately priced dwelling unit program before I get into this? Are you all familiar with that program?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. So right now we have units for sale at Parkside Preserve. The prices are $312,566 dollars for a 4-bedroom 3-story townhouse, which is their selling price is around $650. So the city has over the years we used to collect money from developers, which was a fee in lieu of building MPDUs when the developer wasn't able to use the density bonus. They weren't able to use the density bonus that we gave for building MPDUs. They would pay a fee in lieu, and that money was set aside for a number of uses, one of which was this to provide settlement expense assistance. Now, we already have a program similar to this that we're doing with Homes for America. Homes at the Glen is a tax credit project, a 15-year lease to purchase project, and the 15 years were up a couple years ago, and now people are starting to purchase those. And we have a program with them where we provide $6,000 in settlement expense help if they need it. It's based on need, so it's not always $6,000. It could be $3,000 or $4,000. And this one is very similar. We're using that money from the trust fund to provide settlement expense help to the folks that are purchasing at Parkside Preserve. So basically they have to have, they have to have a MPDU certificate of eligibility. They have to be certified, have graduated from a certified homeownership counseling program. They must be pre-qualified by a lender, or they can go so that the lender can determine how much money it is that they need. We're asking them to contribute a minimum cash contribution of 1% of the sales price from their own funds. And it'll be a deferred loan, no payments, and it'll be forgiven at the end of 10 years. Or if they sell before 10 years or do anything before 10 years, they have to pay it back. That's basically it. We've got some participating lenders. But people can go to their own lender. They don't have to go to one of the participating lenders. Excuse me. And all the information is now on the website. The program's open for business. And I think next week we're going to get our first person that's just signed a contract and is gonna need a little bit of help, so. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Mm-mm. That's great.
Yeah,
Sorry to-
so how many
that is great.
MPDUs, how
There's
many
gonna be,
MPDUs has he done?
they are, there's gonna be 19, but they've only have 6 available right now.
And Teresa, what's the timeline for the other 13 coming online?
Probably a couple, 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So I've set aside enough money for these and the 6 that we're gonna get at Rocky Gorge, which is called Athens Annapolis. There's only gonna be 6 there. So we've set aside enough funding to include those in the Parkside Preserve.
So how many applications have you gotten for Parkside Preserve?
For this program,
Not for this program, but just in general for the MPDUs, because I thought I remember some discussion that you didn't have people lined up yet for those. I
well,
might be
there's
wrong.
people are applying. The problem that
Okay.
we're having is the people that are applying really don't have enough money.
Mm.
It's single people that really can't afford it. Those are most of our applications. We've gotten out of the 6, I think we might have 4 contracts now.
Yeah,
That's good.
4 contracts, you're correct, Teresa.
Oh, there you go, Denise, like,
I took myself off speaker when they were asking the questions.
okay,
Right now, I have probably 16. I really wasn't prepared to give you an actual count that we're waiting for some of them to complete their certificates. I mean, their first-time home buyers classes, because when the program rolled out, we had a handful of people, not many in the draw, that were waiting for something to come available. And so those, along with the applicants that I have, a lot of the ones that are applying now, once we roll the program out, they haven't taken the home buyers education class. So that's kind of holding us up to line everybody up. But in that group of people, we probably have maybe an additional 3 or 4 that could get funded based on their income. But then the rest of them just a lot of them around $40,000, and there's no way that they can afford those mortgages at the cost, because they're running, based on my own calculations, somewhere between high 1,800 to 2,000. And then when you add taxes and insurance, you're probably looking at, and they have some HOA fees and some front footage, you're looking probably close to $2,500 mortgage payment, including taxes and insurance.
right.
And so
This is,
that's the hard part. We want to keep working people in Annapolis, but it's difficult. And Teresa's correct. A lot of people that are interested in buying are single people.
right, and this is a 4-bedroom, so it's priced
Yeah,
at a 4 bed. It's really for this particular product is really for families.
Yeah, it's like a
two-income family, like if you got a
household
husband.
earning, 2
Yeah.
child.
Yeah,
Right. So, I mean, I guess what I'm hearing is that you've got a decent pool of applicants, but there is some limitations around. Sounds like you need like a household income level being around what, the 65 to 80,000?
no, they wouldn't be, no, because they wouldn't be able to afford it.
So
The way
even,
this is priced is it's priced for people. Don't forget, the MPDU program is for middle income people. It's for that missing middle group. It's for people at 100% of median.
Right.
So
Right.
it's affordable. So it's supposed to be affordable for, that group that is not rich enough to buy the expensive houses, but, it makes too much money to afford the, subsidized housing. So it's that 80 to 100, it's that
Yeah,
80 to
so,
100.
so let me give you some
AMI, right.
examples of what the income limits are based on family size. One person is 78,250. Two people is 89 and change. I'm going from memory. Three people is 100,000 and four people is 111,000. There's some extra dollars in there. I'm just rounding them up to the
Right.
nearest number. So if you take a single person, they can't exceed 78,250. And when you look at their income, if it is at 78, you got to cut probably 20% off of their income for all the taxes, insurance, that comes out of their pay. I'm sorry, federal and state taxes and Medicare and Social Security. So when you look at what their net pay is, how can someone say, if you take 28% off, how can someone around 50-something thousand afford a $2,500 more month mortgage? So the income limits kind of really impact single family households, and that's another part of the struggle with the single family households is their affordability. Unless they have a huge down payment, it's really a hard one. And so as they go through the process, a couple of them have dropped off because they just can't
Right.
afford it.
This house is not
This is
for a
not
single
your-
person. It's for a,
Right, it's not for a single person and it's not for someone, for a first-time home buyer.
no, it's, well, yeah, I mean, it's more for like, maybe there's, two people that are working jobs that maybe work, maybe are
Right.
making $70,000 and the husband's making, $50,000, something like that, where, and
Right.
they have children. It's not meant to be for, people under 80% of median.
100.
This is a different, this
Yeah.
is hitting another group in the city that isn't being served.
Right, which is the 80 to 100,000 is the ones that really
Right.
aren't being served in the city.
And
So
when we price them, we do take into consideration, because what we look at when I do the pricing is I look at when I look at the income, I go down to 80. So, so that we can capture, people between 80 and 100.
Right.
So, but I'm sure people are starting to hear more about it and word of mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I
I
get
think,
a lot of inquiries. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Teresa.
yeah. So I think I think eventually we'll be okay. I mean, I did try to convince the builder not to do 4 bedrooms, but, and the other builder's doing 4 bedrooms too. So
And why 4 bedrooms? Why are they doing that?
that's what they're building. That's what they want to build. That's what they think the market will allow in Annapolis. And so we can't tell them,
So have there been any I mean, it sounds like there's a bit of an issue maybe trying to find good qualified candidates, but Denise, I feel like I just heard you say as well that you just need to kind of give it some time and get that
Well, the
word
thing
out.
about it, true, and the thing about it is because we don't have 19 built, we have time to find people.
Right.
Right.
We've got, I don't even think the whole 6 are built, but they're like under constructions, and that will be the first group that will roll out. And so if we're up to 4, hopefully we'll be able to come up with 2 more, because I have quite a few that are really interested in it. It's whether they can get their foot in the door. So I was kind of discouraged in the beginning because it's like, oh, nobody qualifies. But now I'm starting to really get, more qualified applicants, and with that money that Teresa has, that can help them as well. So, some of them are right there at the door. Like, in fact, just to share with you, a lady reached out to me today, one of the applicants, and I'm really happy about her because she is a teacher at the local elementary school. And sometimes these are the ones that we try to target with the program teachers, police, city, state
Right.
employees that work in Annapolis. And she was like, she got approved for 297. And so now she's up, she needs 312. She's going to need a little more than that because she has to pay her first year's taxes and her first year insurance at the settlement table. And hopefully the builder will help her with some closing costs. But if not, she's almost there with the money that Teresa's program, the $10,000 amount. So if we give her 10,000, then she's at 307, and then she has to come up with 1%. So she's like my first one that's like right there at the edge that can benefit from our program. So she's been emailing me and she's trying to do all this paperwork. So as I'm talking to you guys, I'm trying to help her get through the purchases agreement and stuff. So excuse me, Teresa, I'm working on it, girl. I'm working on it.
And I think that's exactly, Denise, that's exactly where my thinking was around teachers and the school systems.
Yeah,
Right?
teachers
Like,
is-
I mean,
Yeah.
and also
Teachers,
just getting the
police,
word out to
firemen, yeah.
families that are being served by, Annapolis Middle, Bates, just.
Right, we've put stuff out, but
Right.
we have to keep at it.
You know
I
what's
think that
happening?
our public information person.
Teresa, word of mouth. People
And
are
word of
calling
mouth,
me
yeah.
because of somebody's. I must have gotten like 3 calls today because somebody told them about it.
Mhm.
And then they go over, they see it being built, and then the builders are referring them back to us. But at the beginning, we got some inquiries, and even some of our firefighters were over the income limits because it's one firefighter, And but word of mouth is really getting it out there. That and just the actual community seeing it being built and inquiring about it.
It was funny because we sent out to every city employee, we sent an email. And
Yeah.
out of 500 and some people, we maybe got less than 5.
Yeah, we didn't get many coming through the city, and
Yeah,
we did get a couple
it's-
inquiries, especially the firefighter's office, and a couple of those guys were over. But I really, now that I feel like I've really learning this, and today was a teachable moment for me because I could explain to you guys, I'm better at trying to help the people.
Beyond income limits, what else would get somebody a certificate of eligibility?
Well, they have to be a resident of the city, or they have to be working in one of the schools that's within the city feeder system, and that, or they could be a city employee. Or they could have working in the city for a year.
Yeah.
So if they've been working in the city for a year. I've tried to get, or if they're a disabled county resident.
Right.
We got the city council to extend it to at least disabled county residents.
Right, and so we
The
have
problem
2.
with it is that the city council wants to keep it very, very narrow. In other MPDU programs, typically, there's a marketing period of 90 days, and then after the 90 days, if they don't sell
Opened
them,
up.
they open it up to the rest of the county. Now, the units stay MPDU, so which means you have to live in it and you can't rent it. So, but they take away the income restrictions. But the unit stays in MPDU, it stays affordable, and then it's sold, it's got to be sold to another MPDU person. So there's no windfall there, if you open it up, but the city council hasn't been interested in opening it up any wider than it is already.
Okay.
So
So
Georgetown Elementary
just,
School.
I'm sorry, one more thing I'd like to add before we move on is that what was also great in the marketing is we have at least one applicant that is qualified and she's just waiting for her unit to be built, which is a disabled Anne Arundel County unit. So it helps if we have to report up to the Department of Disabilities, at least we can say our MPDUs are servicing families with disabilities.
Great.
So
Any other
Georgetown
questions?
Elementary School is in the, Georgetown Elementary is in the city, right?
Yeah,
Okay, but Hillsmere is not.
no, but it's in the feeder system. Well, there's a map online
Okay.
that shows you the schools.
Okay,
Because there's several schools that are outside the city, but still are included because they're in the feeder system.
oh, okay, all right.
And
yeah,
the naval
I get it.
station, the Naval Academy isn't in the city, but it's included. So if you
Okay,
work at the Naval
right.
Academy,
Yeah,
or that's included.
okay. Well, thank you, and thank you for tolerating my participation in this meeting by phone. Something's gonna have to give on my iPad.
Well, we could
not working
lend
right.
you a, one of our laptops for the evening or something. I'll have to look into that.
That might be a good idea. We'll talk about that later. So let's go back to the workforce
Yeah, there's-
housing legislation. Is that all there is on the MPDU
Mhm.
and on the settlement program? Okay.
Mhm. Julian just showed
All
you
right.
the schools that were included.
Oh, all right. I don't have them, but I can, but I'll look for them. Okay. 04022.
Yeah.
It's a long saga,
Yeah.
shall we say. I don't know how many of you actually, did any of you listen to or watch afterward the hearing, the Housing and Human Services or Housing?
Yeah,
and
I was
whatever
there.
committee? You were there. Oh.
And
Yeah.
I was watching.
Oh.
Is that the one that was like completely vacant, Karen?
Yeah. Nobody was there. It was wild.
Yeah, well, they got a lot of talking in, that's for sure.
Terry, did you get to watch it?
Well, I didn't watch it when Karen said no one was there. I didn't think there was a reason to like watch it, but I guess there was, huh?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
there
I
was.
mean-
I watched it afterward on YouTube. It was a scene. It was a definite scene. So what I got out of that whole meeting is that we're sort of at a standstill at the moment until we can get a copy of a copy of what the legislative language looked like with amendments that committee thought it had approved, but somehow the law office does not think was approved. Everybody thinks that the committee did approve all the amendments that were in that memo that we have seen from November 11th and I think the 18th.
Mhm.
But for some reason, the law office doesn't think they're approved.
I went back and looked at the meeting. And they
Oh,
didn't,
did you?
they didn't, there wasn't a
formally
vote.
approve it?
There wasn't a vote.
Okay, all right.
I think they thought they voted on it,
They did for sure. I mean, they
Yeah.
definitely thought they did.
thought
were
they
pretty-
voted on it, but they didn't.
Oh, there was no question they thought they voted on it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they thought.
All right.
So is that now, so now procedurally, the steps would be to get them to vote on it, which then gets it to the law office.
No.
No?
No, so what needs to be done now is, or what they agreed to do now is, staff is going to capture all of those amendments in a
Amendment.
document.
Mhm.
We're gonna send them to the law office, but we're gonna make sure everybody has a copy.
Because they have to do it by
Yeah.
the next meeting, right?
And
Because they'll be time out.
Right, and what they'll do is the committee will pass it as their amendment to the legislation.
Mhm.
So it'll be kind of a substitute bill.
Yeah, kind of.
They can then
Yeah.
take they can then
Yeah,
take
so
to
they'll,
the
yeah, so the
council
committee, the committee will vote on it as their amendment.
April 17th.
And it will, that, what they vote on at that time will have already cleared through the law office.
Well, here's the problem is what started this whole thing to be kind of off track was the committee drafted legislation, and the legislation that the committee drafted is what you see in the first reader.
Mhm.
Right.
But what happened was before Dwan had put it on the agenda, the staff had sent the draft that the committee did to the law office. And the law office totally changed it. It was totally different with it, even in a different chapter. And it was incorrect. And the law office wouldn't budge from that, from that write-up, what they did. So what happened was Dwan got decided to go ahead and put the first reader that we did, the very first one up. And so that's how we ended up with, it was the very first iteration, basically.
Mhm.
So
Right.
where's the law office now on the current bill?
Well, supposedly, the staff is supposed to be putting it all together and sending it to the law office again.
And are they now agreeing that they made the wrong changes to it, or are they still in the same
No,
place?
no.
Okay.
No.
They're not saying, no, they're not saying anything.
Oh.
No, it's a whole chicken and egg thing, but
Yeah.
Eric agreed at the hearing to incorporate all the changes that the committee thought they had approved, which they hadn't, but we'll incorporate those changes and have a draft of a bill. They can then send it to the law office, and I guess the law office will, well, let me put it this way, that once that draft exists, then the committee can agree, can actually vote on it, correct? And then
Correct.
then the law office can make its final determination. They
Mhm.
can, massage
Well,
it and
council-
put the language that they want, or it goes back to the council.
So since
Right.
it's gotten away from us all 2 months in a row or so, is there a way we can follow up on it?
Well, what I'd like to do, what I suggested is when we get the staff gets our draft done, that everybody gets a copy
Yeah. you're gonna
before it
share-
goes to the law office.
Great idea.
Correct.
And then we'll see what the Office of Law does with it.
That'd be
Well,
great.
Right.
Can I just say that I'm a little worried, given that the Office of Law has thrown some obstacles up along the way.
Wrenches in.
I just want to make sure that's not going to happen again, that we're all on the same page and working
Well,
towards.
that's why we're going to make sure that everybody gets a copy of what we send.
Okay.
In the very outset. For example, there may be a couple of other things we want to do to the legislative language, with an eye toward getting some agreement from at least one other council member, so we end up with 5-4, instead of losing 5.
Well, if anybody wants to
Um,
make any changes to it now, we need to do that now.
Right. But as soon as Eric has finished with it, for example,
Jackie's doing it.
Jackie's doing it. Okay. I don't know if you've been following the Arlington missing middle debate. Was a group, the Arlington County government or council approved it 5-0 last night.
Wow.
One of the
Amazing.
things they did to make it more palatable, even though there's still obviously opposition, but they agreed to it 5-0, but they added a limitation on the number of units that could be built in any 1 year. And that may be something we want to think about, adding in some limitation to the number of units that can be built in any one ward or something like that, or any one zone. We can talk about that more, but
Mhm.
that
I
may
like
be
that.
something
When-
that would,
Yeah, I mean, we
Would
have to
help.
talk about it tonight because
Mhm.
right. I
April
know, I
17th is
know.
coming.
Coming
Mhm.
quickly, right. So that's just one thing I was thinking about, that it might help us.
Mhm.
I
I
think
don't
it
know what
would.
that number would be.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that number would be.
Because
But-
that is the fear of some of the older
Right.
people. And I think
Right,
that's a great
exactly.
idea. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think that would also
Um,
kind of cut the argument at the knees, so to speak, that this would allow
Right.
hotels or,
Right,
that, that type of less than accurate statement.
Well, you can't do that
Right.
anyways.
As,
But if
as
we-
has been pointed out
That-
repeatedly,
that
yet
never
despite
stopped
that, the
anybody.
argument has remained to be made.
But I
So
think
is
if we-
anybody willing to come up with a number or a
Yeah,
suggestion?
what
Because
kind of number makes, we don't have Eric. I think maybe if we talk to Eric, and help us,
well, it would really be Jackie because
okay, Jackie, we talked to Jackie about.
Jackie's current planning staff and she's the one that knows the
Okay.
zoning code the best.
I mean, the thing that's
Okay.
popping into my head just for conversational purposes is if we're talking about up to quadplexes, right? Then
Yep.
what about saying a limit of up to 3 quadplexes or 12 units in any given year within any ward? Denise,
that
I'm
makes
sorry,
some
I see
sense.
your hand up. I apologize.
No, that makes some sense.
Well, can somebody write something for me that I can give to Jackie?
I can probably do that, yes. I can do that for you. And I'll send it to you. I'll look at the last version of the legislation that I see and see if I can figure out a place to put it. And I'll let you know, Teresa. Does that
Right,
make
look
sense
at-
to everybody, that kind of a limitation?
I mean, like we could build a quadplex or 12 units in each ward every year, or are we just like one quadplex every year?
I
No,
I mean,
mean,
not
mean,
that we
ward.
would be able to, but I'm saying like, I don't want to limit it too much.
I have a question, before we move forward on that. My question is, how much space do we have to build anything? I mean,
We don't.
and
That's the
man,
point.
that's like the whole point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean,
And-
there's the fear mongering without information that there's really very few places where this can happen.
yeah, if you
Well,
have
but
some
I
vacant
think
lots through the city.
part of the fear is that the developers are going to come in and scoop up buildings that are unoccupied and on, single family homes on lots where
Right.
the
and do-
unit is unoccupied, and they're going to tear down that existing unit and build mansions, not mansions, build apartment buildings.
Mhm.
Well, maybe a
that's what they're
quadplex
trying
might
to
be too
avoid.
big.
right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that-
what did Arlington, how big are they as compared to us?
they're much bigger than we are.
Oh, you
Okay.
could put 5 in
So,
Apples.
so what, how many,
Mhm.
I mean, I would look at what they said and then figure
Mhm.
out
They
how
said
much
50.
bigger.
But remember, they're doing their laws unless they've changed it, they're just allowing this development in any single family zone. They don't have the same
Correct.
limitations or restrictions. So it's not apples to apples. They don't
No, it
care if a
isn't.
lot more
It's
development happens. The neighborhood cared. But I just want to quickly add that the existing single family neighborhoods and infill in them is different than some of the larger projects that are proposed in other areas of the city. So by limiting the number of units, are we impacting some of those proposals? Like particularly if we were going to redevelop a parking lot, and put development in there, I think we just have to be careful if we want to limit it, then maybe we have some terminology about existing single-family neighborhoods and be really clear about where we're talking about limiting it. The other
That's
thing
what I
that,
was,
right, the other
I
thing.
Don't
agree
forget
with
Emerald
Karen.
Drive.
Right, I want to add this,
I-
that I do have concerns about people coming in and tearing down houses and then rebuilding a lot more units on that side, or I will say a lot. So we just need some kind of, when there needs special approval or, you know, so to ensure we don't have that happen. I think that is a concern to people.
Can
Right,
I,
because,
can
I
I
mean, think
finish
about it.
what I was
Terry,
saying?
let me,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying,
Go on, Denise.
I didn't get to finish what I was saying about the quadplexes. And I was really gonna target those neighborhoods that we're speaking about, because instead of doing 4 units, maybe we can just do 2. And
Yeah.
that way, that will also calm down some of the fear mongering about apartments and how many, and then don't allow them to be next to each other. Those are 2 of the things, because that's what people worry about, you know, we don't
Yeah.
want this. So
But the
those are 2
real-
thoughts. That,
Yeah.
now I'm done. I'll take my hand down.
Right, I was gonna say, the reality of everything is the land costs in Annapolis and the cost of housing in Annapolis is so
Mhm.
high, it's
Yeah.
almost gonna be impossible for somebody to come in and buy up a whole bunch of stuff if they're gonna have to rent it or sell it at a lower.
Right.
If
Yeah.
they're building
Cost.
affordable housing. You
But you
understand
know,
what
like
I'm saying?
HOAs, when they have like restrictions, only 30% of it can be rentals, like maybe we can add some kind of language like they use for that to prevent it. I mean, this is basically what we're talking about anyhow.
And the thing about
Well-
VRBOs, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
These-
see, I don't know enough about zoning to make any suggestions, but,
let me try my hand at it, and I will email it to everyone.
Mhm.
Then people can add or subtract or change or whatever, give ideas about it, and then before we end up sending it to Jackie, because I'm hearing what everybody's saying, the various ideas that might work. For example, you know, we do want to limit that it could be Airbnb or VRBO or any of those things. We don't want them to be used for that purpose.
how could
Mhm.
they be if they
Oh, no.
have to be affordable?
Well, I don't
I
think
mean,
you
what
want
we're-
to do temporary housing, just the way they've limited it in downtown Annapolis or Ward 1. You know, we don't want
what
it to
I'm
be
s-
for temporary housing for anybody.
Right, but this,
Uh,
what the legislation is allowing developers who are building affordable housing to do this, so.
Right.
So how could they, if they're building affordable housing, how would it be
Teresa, I see the point
Well-
that you're making and I agree with it. Like it
thank you.
It
Yeah.
doesn't, it quite literally does not make sense. Like, you
Right? I mean,
cannot, I just don't
I
know
don't-
how else to directly say it.
But-
It literally doesn't make sense.
But
no,
let me-
it doesn't financially feasible. It's not financially
But
feasible.
no matter
No,
how we,
I'm not-
but you guys,
I am
no matter
not
how much we tell people that, they're not listening to us. They don't believe us.
Yeah.
So if there's something we can put in the legislation that maybe is never really going to be important, but that can assuage people's concerns, I don't see a problem. I personally don't see a problem with it.
Mhm.
right.
Just cover it all.
Yeah. So, but they.
Agreed.
Well,
they
and
need it,
I'm
yeah.
not, and we're not suggesting that people are going to build, the developers are going to build houses and then people are going to buy them specifically for the purpose of using them as Airbnb or VRBO.
Yeah,
Well,
they
you
can't.
couldn't.
No, you couldn't. That's right. You couldn't, but you know,
The
Never tell
legislation
people
doesn't allow for that.
already.
Restrict-
the
well,
zoning
it
requirements-
Well, it restricts the income levels.
You couldn't rent the unit at a profit through the short-term, any short-term rental
Right.
platform in a manner in
I-
which then, yeah, like I think all of us, like we're preaching to the choir on this call, you know, like
Right.
we all,
Well,
we all
okay, all
get it.
right. Okay, let's move on from that particular part of it. So I will take a stab. I'll make a stab at kind of language that we want to put in there in terms of limitations, and I'll keep in mind what you said, Karen, about I think it was you, Karen, who said we don't want to make it impossible to do more than however many units on parking lots or that sort of thing.
It was me. Yeah, it was me. Yeah, the larger,
Yeah.
of which we're gonna, the smaller projects, we're not gonna get that many of either. So
Right.
No, we're not. We're not.
So how would it affect Admiral Drive? How would it affect the Conifer project? Just keep that in
It
mind.
wouldn't, because this is only for people who want to use those provisions. I mean, Conifer goes on regardless of whether there's a workforce housing bill or not.
No, it's R1. You can't go forward right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
but we could differentiate between large existing undeveloped properties and small infill in existing single family neighborhoods. We'd need to define what all that means.
Mhm.
And I know I can hear Jackie, someone's going to find a loophole in that. Well, we can fix it if there is, but I think we need to look at those two different types of development differently.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, well, let me take a stab, a crack at it. What I can come up with.
So I think some of the other
Okay.
concerns were not having a community space or community accessible space, like for the Conifer project. I don't know if that's something, I think it was already in that bill.
Yeah, Karen, wasn't that something that Councilwoman or Alderwoman O'Neill had specifically brought up?
Yeah. Yeah, she's interested in including that with that Admiral Drive project.
Yeah.
Right.
But there has to be common open space in those larger
Yes.
developments, and then that could be part of that common open space. So that is a requirement.
Well, they struggle over there because of, they can't develop any more on some of the land. So their thought was the only thing they can do is like a dog park or something small like that. But, if they could get that, of course, they have to double down on the zoning changes, but if they could do something different, then they would do something more engaging for the residents.
Don't forget, Jackie had come up with a definition of
Open
Or
space.
open space that
Yeah.
look pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot I had my little notebook. already.
By the way, Teresa, in all the copies of the history of the legislative language,
Mhm.
it's very interesting. And the reason why there was some confusion, I think, it showed the reason why there was some confusion in whether this was to build tax credit projects, because that's how Jackie had first categorized the whole bill.
Mhm.
That's how she had characterized it in the language. So
Yeah,
that's
the
why
very,
everybody-
very
that's why-
first draft.
Very,
Right.
very, very beginning of it. And that's why
Right.
people were so focused on it.
But then we changed all that and
Yeah, we changed it all. So. Okay. So I'll take a crack at it. Today is Thursday. I will try to have something to everybody by next week, early next week,
Great.
like Tuesday or something like that. And see what we can come up with. And then
Thank
we
you.
can get it to Jack.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Okay.
super.
And then what we should be able to do is, since we're going to have a new draft of a bill, that then the committee, the Housing and Human, or whatever the committee's name. What is the committee's name?
Housing and Human Welfare.
Housing and Human Welfare Committee can then take up and approve. Then the law office can put its imprimatur on the legislative language, hopefully without making additional problems. And then it could go back to the council. Isn't that correct?
Goes back to the council is a, from the HHW as an amendment.
Yeah, from as their bill,
Their amendment to, yeah.
their amendment to the bill, a substitute for the first reader. Okay, all right. Because Alderman Gay was saying that there's some time limit under which they have to get
Right,
this done.
Yeah, it's a 90-day
Or else-
rule.
90-day rule, yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. 90 days from the first reader, is that, we've already passed that, haven't we? Yeah. I don't-
Well, they
Depends on,
count time when it's in committee and all of that.
Okay, all right.
I think, don't quote me on that one.
Yeah, I know all the rules of legislation in the city. So, well, let's just see what we can come up with, and see if we can get the committee to agree to add those kinds of limitations. And then we'll see where we go from there. That leads into another discussion of a related nature, and that's the resolution, Alderman Savage's resolution. I thought Eric did an incredibly wonderful job in describing what our bill does, describing the flaws in that resolution. Because, as I think we've said a couple of times, it sort of it's an end run. It's somewhat of an end run around our legislation, trying to throw a monkey wrench into its consideration. And for those of you who didn't hear it, Eric described the workforce housing legislation as changes in text to the zoning legislation, the zoning code. And therefore, resolution really does not impact our workforce housing legislation, which I thought was just very clever, and reflected reality. So our legislation would not be killed by his resolution in any way, which probably made him very unhappy, which will make
Well,
him
that's good
very
news.
unhappy.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, that was my impression of what Eric said.
but those were his amendments to,
Right. Right. It would make, you're right. It would, those are his amendments to his resolution, but implicit in those amendments is his definition of, his understanding of what the resolution currently does.
Mhm. So you guys are, didn't you say you were going to write to the city council and support?
Yeah, I'm going to use his the things that he described in his statement to the committee about it, and I will do that by the end of next week, I hope. And again, send it around to everybody, and you can add and subtract, etc.
That'd be great. Thanks, Nancy. Terry, you
Mhm.
doing all right over there?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm in the dark because it's dark in my house. I gotta turn the light on.
Okay.
I'm always in the dark.
You're in the dark. Oh yeah, it's
Got a
getting
little
dark.
spooky there for a second.
Anything else that we want to add about 4022 and the resolution?
So if we do this, then we all end up with a copy. how do we advocate or push it through with the law office, or is that just out of our hands?
Well,
Well, I think it's out of our hands, to be honest.
Okay.
What
I'm
were
not
you
so
gonna say,
sure it's
Teresa?
out of staff's hands though, so.
No, it's not out of your hands. It's out of our hands.
Okay.
What we could actually, if we wanted to, write anything we want. We can send a letter to or an email to the law office and just voice our
Well, I
concerns.
did send a letter to the law office.
Did you get a response back?
I did get a response back,
Oh,
which is why I
Hmm.
said I don't think that we'll have much influence.
Hmm.
That was when the beginning of the chicken and egg debate started.
Oh, did you
The
send
law
us,
office said, well, I don't know that I sent, I think I sent you copies of what I sent to her, but if I didn't, I will do it.
no, but I don't think you sent us copies of what she responded.
I don't
I
recall
don't think I did
seeing
either.
that.
Okay, I will get that. I will send it to you. It was sort of a dismissive.
Yeah, I felt some
Response.
diplomatic language
So-
from you.
so that's okay. They can be dismissive, but we just keep our hand in there. I think we can write another email and
Mhm.
tell them we're looking forward to working with you to bring this legislation to fruition, and then copy
Yeah.
a few people so that they know we are thinking about it and we are watching and we are very supportive and want to make sure things go forward.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm optimistic for it. They did say they were standing by and ready to draft the law as soon as they got, or the bill as soon as we got things together. So hopefully, but yeah, we can start
Yeah.
a pen pal campaign.
Right, so they know we're watching and we're involved and we care, and so, and
Yeah.
copy a few people
Well, I
like
think
the
she
mayor
knows-
too,
I think
I
she
think,
knows
so he
that.
should know, yeah.
Yeah.
Nancy, what'd you say right there?
I think the law office knows we care and that we're interested.
I know, but I'm saying, let's be annoying.
Well, I think there's definitely,
You're being
yeah, that's
savage.
what we talked about at other times is the role that we have to play in an educational manner.
Right.
Right.
So, that is our opinion, man. And we're just gonna take it out.
And
And
I
let's
think
know what our
copying
opinion is.
copying other elected officials so that they know where it is and what's happening. I think that is a good job. Someone's got to do it. So someone should do it. I won't say gotta, but should, I think.
We will keep on it.
Giving you more work, Nancy. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other new business that we want to talk about?
Just not new business, but we do need to approve those minutes, right?
Mhm.
And then the only other thing that
That's right. That's when I had to leave. Let's go
Yeah.
back and improve those minutes.
Because Elijah's here
Um,
now, so.
Ah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that. Sorry. The nice hair. I'll expose myself. I took advantage of the really nice weather and went on a kayak ride and
Ah.
got back at 6:40 and saw the reminder on my phone and was like, "Ugh." Sorry.
Forgive it.
Good
I don't
weather,
blame you.
good weather does kind of sometimes dictate life, Good
Good.
weather's good weather.
Not a problem. Okay, let's go back to item whatever it was, 3, I think, on the agenda. Approval of the January minutes. Is there anyone to propose a motion to approve the January minutes?
So moved.
And I'll
Is there a
second it.
second?
I'll second it.
All those approving?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, minutes from January have been approved.
Hey,
So, last item, anything else we want to add before we adjourn? Anything
The
else
only
you want
other
to take up
thing-
before we adjourn?
The only other thing I just wanted to ask about was, Kara, did they talk anything about 5022?
Yeah, that was the rent guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of things amendments you wrote in there that just were not even legal, so they dropped the whole thing. Because it wasn't enforceable, like they wanted to do fines or some punishment for, landlords and property managers that did, not follow those guidelines, but then they figured out that they don't have the power to enforce those, so the whole thing's useless, to put forward. So he's gonna restart and revisit the whole thing.
So 5022 is DOA.
Mhm.
All right. That's thank you for the opportunity to get the update.
Sure thing. It was a riveting meeting.
Well, the discussion of the workforce housing bill was quite,
If you get a chance, watch it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Ooh.
it's
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Got
it
the
sounds
humor.
like sit back, pour a beverage, and let it.
yeah, yes.
And of course I am, all about housing, but I've got to kind of toe that line. And when they started going off on, and because my job is landlord engagement, they started going off on landlords. I was like, oh my God, I'm not here.
All righty. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
All right, and Perry, since you got the first one, I'll do the second one.
Okay.
And Denise, I'm gonna give you a call right after this meeting.
No, I'm tired.
Yes, yes. Just one more thing, one more thing.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I really feel like I had an opportunity to participate tonight.
That's
Good.
great.
Thanks
Thank
for all your
you.
work, Denise.
We're glad
Yeah.
we could give you the forum.
She's working really, really
Thank
hard
you.
on this MPDU thing, let me tell you.
It's
That's
awesome.
great.
She's
Thank
been
Thank
doing
you
a
all
great
very
job.
much.
Thanks, guys.
All
Have a
those,
good night.
all those
All right,
in
I'm going to
favor
get
of
my phone,
adjournment?
Teresa.
We
Aye.
never voted on adjournment, guys. We
Oh,
never
aye.
voted on adjournment.
Yes, yes.
Right.
I
All
can't
those in
vote.
favor? Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed?
Hi.
Okay.
See ya.
Meeting is